Hello all. Today we'll start a new concept that is ABAP HANA, right? Which is advanced in ABAP and particularly in S4 HANA environment. So to understand about ABAP HANA, first we'll see few basics of HANA. What is HANA? HANA is a database. What is HANA? HANA is a high performance in-memory database. Okay, in-memory database. What do you mean by in memory? What do you mean by in memory here? Can you talk about in memory? What is the speciality of in memory database? No, stores data at RAM level, right? For faster data processing. Okay, for faster data processing, where it will store the data in general, RAM level. But in general, where the data will be stored in traditional databases, disk, right? So in traditional databases, we store data in the hard drive or disk level, right? But in in-memory database, we store data in RAM level. What is RAM? What is a RAM? The full form of RAM is random access memory. It is a secondary memory. It is a secondary memory in any system, right? So most of you are using mobile phones or computers, right? What are the different components of any computer or mobile phone? Hmm. Processor, a system contains processor, RAM, hard drive to store the data. Right? When you are purchasing the laptop, what are the configurations you check for? When you are purchasing a mobile phone, what are the configurations you inquire about? RAM. First thing you check about RAM for speed, right? What is the use of RAM? Based on RAM capacity, your device performance will be faster, right? That's why we choose for higher memory when you are trying to purchase a laptop or mobile phone, right? So RAM helps to access data very fast, right? To process data very fast. But where the data actually resides, hard drive, right? In your mobile phone or in your laptop, anywhere, the data will be stored permanently in a disk. We call it as hard drive also, right? But accessing data from disk is very slow. It will take time to access the data, right? That is the reason we use RAM. First, we keep the data in RAM. From RAM, the system or mobile phone can access the data from RAM level for the processing, right? Accessing data from RAM is very faster than accessing data from hard disk, thousands of times faster, right? If it take one minute to access data from hard drive on the CPU or system, if it is from RAM, maybe in nanoseconds, it can access the data, right? But what is the disadvantage of RAM? RAM cannot store the data permanently. RAM can store data only until the system is on, right? Once you turn it off, whatever the data available in RAM will be deleted, right? That's why you call it as volatile, right? Right? So the data is not permanent in RAM. Now, is everyone clear about RAM and hard disk? All traditional databases will access data from which one? RAM or hard drive? HANA database is a high performance in memory database which will access data from RAM, directly from RAM. But I am saying that if you store all your data in RAM, entire your organizational data, the entire ERP data in the RAM, what if you turned off the system or that server? What happens to the data? Data will be lost, right? Then, is it safe to use the HANA database? Is it safe to use HANA database? Yes. Even though HANA is using RAM, there is a hard drive where we store the data permanently. But for data processing, we keep all the operational data in RAM. Maybe due to some issue, due to some accident, your server got turned down and your entire server is not working. Obviously, whatever the data available on RAM will be deleted. Once you fix the issue, once the server is restored, again we copy operational data from hard disk to where? RAM. And the data will be accessed directly from RAM. So you don't need to worry about data security or data, you don't need to worry about your data, right? Because the data backup is permanently available in a hard disk or hard drive, right? Whatever the operational data required, that will be stored in the RAM level. That basis administrators can do that, doing that copying from hard drive to RAM. They'll take care of it. But in general, it's very rare scenario where your servers are going to be down, right? It's very rare scenario. Okay. Now There is one more special feature about HANA database. It stores data in column stores table. What do you mean by column store table? Column store tables are read optimized. Column store tables are read optimized. What about row store tables? Row store tables are write optimized. Faster insertion. Row store tables can optimized for faster data insertion or updating. Column store tables are reading selection of data, faster selection of data from database tables. Column store tables are read optimized. Let's see what is the difference between row store table and column store table. Take any example table. This is traditional row store table. Let's take some data in it. For example, employee ID 100, this is the example of row store table. The data will be stored in this like this in the database with rows and columns. What is column store table? The data in column store table will be like this. So we have a separate table for each value or each column. This table is for employee ID table. What data it contains? The data will be stored like this. One zero two, and there will be a separate table for name. There will be a separate column, one more separate column for. There will be a separate table for name column. Now, city. Tell me what are the entries in this table as per this row store table, how the column store table will be available. What are the values available in column store table? Tell me what are the different values we are going to store in the column store table. Okay, next. What is the next value? No. There is one advantage of using column store tables. It is a repeated entry, right? Hyderabad. The city table. Hyderabad is a repeated entry. So column store table won't take duplicate value, right? It will take only unique values. Then what we are going to save here by using column store tables? Database memory, right? We can save a lot of space inside the database. We are not storing the duplicate values. If you see row store table, how many times that value is repeated? Multiple times, right? If you have same value for thousands of employees, the same data will be repeated for thousands of times. Maybe it will take 1 KB or 2 KB, but altogether, if you are repeating it for thousands of times, it might go up to MB, right? Megabytes. Sorry, sorry. Can you repeat your question? Yeah, right. But employee ID is a primary key, right? There is no chance of duplicate data. If it is name, true. Because names are different, right? Maybe I should have used different names, but true for employee name as well. Here, it won't take three different columns. True about employee name as well, because the employee name is same, right? Maybe in this example, we have taken same name. So in row store, it won't store duplicate values, right? But how? When you are selecting the data for employee master data, now it is clear, row store is clear. You can map, the system can map 100 for corresponding name and city. But here, what is the link between these different values? If you need to select employee number 100, how can you find employee name and employee city? How you are going to link it with different tables? Here we have three different tables for three different columns, right? So how these columns are linked? There will be a index between different tables. Okay, so using that index, all values will be linked. Okay, you don't need to worry about it. The system will take care of it in background. Okay, the system will take care of it in background. You just write your regular select statement. You don't need to write anything separately, right? You just write your regular select statement. So the system will take care of linking different column store tables and provide you the output. Okay, what is the advantage of column store table? Sorry, which one? First thing is read optimized, faster data selection, right? The select statements will execute very faster on column store tables. And the other advantage is data compression, where you are going to reduce duplicate data, right? Where you are going to minimize the duplicate data by using row store tables, right? So what do we call that? Data compression. Okay, we call that as data compression. So we eliminate duplicate data and save the database space. Okay. So using index, column store table will be linked in background. When you are creating the table, have you ever observed in SAP GUI SC11? When you are creating a table, there is an option to create the column store table as well in data dictionary, right? Try that. You won't find any difference when you are creating a table. Okay, in background, how data will be stored in that table will be different. Okay, but when you are creating the table, you won't find any difference. When you are accessing the data from the table, you won't find any difference between column store and row store table. Now, why we need all this? Why we need all this? Why we need in-memory database? Why we need column store tables? What is the need of this? Improving performance, correct. By improving the performance, what are the advantages we are going to get? Faster data processing and real-time reporting. Real-time data processing for real-time analytics, right? For real-time data processing and real-time analytics. What is the need of this real-time analytics? Let's say you need to analyze your data in previous systems. What we need to do? We need to do ETL and we need to transfer the data to which system? Where we do reporting in which system? OLTP or OLAP? Tell me in which OLAP, right? Online Analytical Processing System, where we store the historical data and do the data processing. So in previous days, we do the ETL and send the data to OLAP system, and there we generate the reports. There we process the data and generate the reports and do the analysis. But by using HANA database, what it is providing? Real-time data processing. Let's assume you are using older system, older ECC system. What is the typical process over there? Whatever the transactions happen today, at the end of the business day, what will happen? All the data will be moved to OLAP system using ETL, right? At the end of the business day. Next day, in the next business day, the data is available for data analysis, right? Yes or no? If someone, if some person from management team want to check the real time analytics, the current situation of the business, is he able to do that? That is not available because ETL has to be executed tonight, and the next morning the data will be available for data analysis. We are using traditional systems, right? They cannot run the reporting for today's business. They cannot have any insights of real time data, right? Now, why we don't do that? Because we do not run data analytics on OLTP system, right? Because to read millions of records, to process the data, to aggregate the data, and to provide reporting solutions, it will take a lot of memory of the system. So it will impact the transactions. That way we separate that as OLAP system and we do data analysis in OLAP system. Now, what is the advantage we are achieving using HANA database? HANA is a in-memory database which provide faster access of data from RAM. And also, HANA uses column store tables. It contains both row store and column stores, but column stores are read optimized. So, the select or data selection is very faster from column store table so that it can support real-time data processing and real-time analysis of the data, right? In traditional systems, they use row store tables and there is no RAM level data access. So it will take a lot of time to access the data. It will impact the system performance. Since we are using HANA database, it supports row store and also it uses column store tables. So that these are read optimized. It will provide data very faster for data processing. That's why real-time data processing or real-time analysis also possible by using S4 HANA. Okay, there is another concept in HANA. It uses multi-core parallel processing. Multi-core parallel processing. What do you mean by multi-core parallel processing? What is a core? Let's assume it has one CPU. How many cores you have for your system? One core, right? So let's assume you are playing a game in your laptop. So the task will be handled by that single core and it will process the data and provide the output, right? But if you take multi-core parallel processing where there is a chance of adding more cores to your system, that means multiple CPUs to your system, then what will happen? One single task will be divided into multiple tasks and each task will be distributed to a different core, and at the end it will combine the data and combine the results and provide you the output. So what you are doing here, instead of using one core, you are going to add more cores to your system, right? For example, you have 10 cores in your system. So the data processing will be 10 times faster. Yes or no? Because one single task will be divided into parallel units and it will combine the results at the end once the data is processed. Okay, that is the advantage of multi-core parallel processing. HANA supports multi-core parallel processing so that you can add more cores to your system. Okay, you can add more cores to your system, right? Core 1, core 2, like that you can keep on adding your cores. Maybe it is expensive, but it provides faster data processing, right? So it supports multi-core parallel processing. The task will be divided into multiple smaller units and results will be combined into one final output. Right? Doing a job by one person versus doing a job by 10 persons. Right? When you split that task into 10 different smaller tasks, it will be faster, right? So HANA supports RAM level data storage for higher faster data access, and it contains multi-core parallel processing where the data will be processed faster, depends on number of cores in your server, right? And also HANA supports data compression by using column store tables. It will compress the data and remove duplicate data in the system. It will store only unique values and those values will be linked using an index. Okay, linked using an index. There will be an index table in between all the column store tables, right? There will be a index table, right? To link all these different columns. Okay, is everyone clear about HANA database? How it is faster and why it is faster? Is everyone clear about it? There are a lot of details to know about it, but I don't want to go deeper because we are not learning database. Is everyone clear on this? Now, come back to our S4 HANA. What is S4 HANA? What is S4 HANA? What is HANA? What is S4 HANA? Or both are same? What is S4 HANA? It is a ERP software. It's not a database. It's a ERP software. And on which database it will run? HANA database. It runs only on HANA database. Sorry. Okay. So it is advanced than SAP ECC. ECC runs on different database, but it is slower because it uses traditional databases and row store tables. No multi-core parallel processing available. No, maybe you can we use HANA database for ECC? Older ERP system. Can we use HANA database on ECC? Can we run ECC on HANA database? Yes, we can run older ERP system, that is ECC, on HANA database. No issues with that. But you are not going to use, you are not able to use the advanced options in HANA like column store tables, multi-core parallel processing, all these things you cannot use, right? When you use S4 HANA, S4 HANA is optimized for HANA database. ECC is not optimized for HANA database. ECC is not designed for HANA database, but S4 HANA is specially designed for HANA database. So they removed all unnecessary things which are available to support different databases, which are available to make it compatible for different databases. They removed a lot of tables, programs, unnecessary things because there is no other database we are using, only HANA database, right? We reduce the complexity of ERP software by using HANA database in the S4 HANA. We reduced all the dependencies, right? In S4 HANA. We removed a lot of unnecessary tables in S4 HANA because S4 HANA supports only HANA database. It is optimized to support only HANA database. But ECC, it is designed to support different databases. Then what you need to do to make it compatible for different databases, you need to keep a lot of unnecessary things in the system, right? In S4 HANA, they removed everything. They make it compatible for only HANA database, right? So S4 HANA is a ERP software and SAP HANA is a in-memory database. Please observe the difference. Okay, HANA is a database. S4 HANA is a ERP software which runs on HANA database. Okay, is everyone clear? There are different versions of S4 HANA, 2022, 2023, like that. Even database versions also different. They'll release new upgrades. I think currently we are using HANA 2.0, 2.0. That is the database we are using in S4 HANA. Okay. Can we use HANA database on any third-party application, on any Java or any .NET applications, or it supports only SAP ERP? No, it is a database which can be used in any application. Okay, it is a in-memory database which can be used on any application. Okay, S4 HANA is optimized to run on HANA database to make it compatible with only HANA database. Like similar to S4 HANA, you can use any other applications to run on HANA database. Okay, that is possible, but mostly since it's a SAP product, most of the times only SAP is using it. Other competitors are not using it. Okay, but it will definitely work on third party applications as well, not only on SAP ERP. Okay, is everyone clear? All the tables, programs are optimized to run on HANA database. Okay, they removed all other dependencies which supports different third-party databases. Now tell me, when you are writing any ABAP SQL statements or any select statements, what is the recommended approach? Can we write SQL statements that supports only HANA database? That means native SQL statements for HANA. Can we implement that in ERP, SAP S4 HANA application development? So I'm saying that S4 HANA supports only HANA database, right? S4 HANA can run only on HANA database. When you are creating a program, can you write native HANA SQL statements which can run only on HANA database? Can you implement that in your programs? Yes. You are creating an application, you are creating a program in S4 HANA system. So can you implement select statements using native HANA select statements which run solely on HANA database? What is the SAP recommendation? SAP recommends always to use what type of select statements? OpenSQL, OpenSQL, right? Which supports any database. Even you are writing applications in S4 HANA that supports only HANA database, still SAP recommends to use which one? OpenSQL only. Do not write native SQL statements specific to HANA database, even though there is only possibility of using HANA database. Maybe in future they might come up with a different advanced database where they need to replace HANA with that advanced database. Then what will happen if you write native HANA statements in your programs? They're not going to work on that new database, right? Again, what you need to do? You need to do all the code changes again to make it compatible for the new database. That's why to avoid all these dependencies, SAP always recommends to use which statements? Open SQL statements, which can run on any database. Okay, the system will take care of converting those Open SQL statements corresponding to the backend database. Okay, is everyone clear? In interviews, they'll definitely ask this. What is the difference between HANA and S4 HANA? You should be able to explain, okay, clearly. HANA is a database, S4 HANA is a ERP system, okay. And they'll ask the advantages of using HANA database. You should be able to explain about in-memory database concept using RAM and multi-core parallel processing and column store tables. These are enough, okay. Is everyone clear? Is everyone clear? Is everyone clear about this? Now, let's come back to ABAP on HANA. What is ABAP on HANA? The statement itself say, right, whatever the ABAP we implement in the HANA environment. HANA in the sense you are not going to do anything in database level. Please observe that. Okay. As a ABAP developer, you are not going to do anything in the database level. Whatever the development you do only in the application level, right? By using ABAP on HANA. Okay. Now, why we use ABAP on HANA? We use for code push down technique. Very important. What is code push down? What is code push down? Where do we do the data processing in normal ERP systems? In any ERP system, or where we do the data processing? In which layer? That means any calculations, any data modifications. We select the data from database layer and we do this data processing in application layer, in the application program level, right? Yes or no? Now, to do this data processing, what is the source? You need to get the data from database, right? First. Yes or no? Let's say one simple example I'll provide. You need to find top 10 richest people in country, right? What you need to do? First, you need to gather all population data and you need to sort, right? Data by their revenue and you need to, then only you can find the top 10 richest people, right? First, you need to transfer all the data from a database to application layer. You need to keep that in one internal table. You need to process the data and then find the top 10 richest people, right? By calculating all their different business revenues, right? All their different other incomes. You need to calculate all of that and you need to find the top 10 richest people, okay? By calculating all their assets and different business things. For that, you need to do a lot of calculations, right? You need to gather all their business data, all their different revenue coming from different business and industries. Then you can aggregate the data and you can find top 10 richest people. For that, you need to transfer millions of data from millions of records from database to application. Transferring data from application will take time, depends on the data volume, right? The performance of the program also depends on it. If you are transferring millions of records from database layer to application, it will definitely take time. But what is your final output here? How many records? Only 10 records. After calculating all this, then only you can get those 10 records, right? Yes or no? Now, instead of doing all those calculations in the application layer, we do those calculations in the database layer itself. We do all that complex calculations, loops and everything in the database layer itself. Database layer in the sense in our S4 HANA environment in HANA database. And we transfer only that result data to application layer. We minimize the data transfer using code push down. So instead of executing those calculations in the application level, where we are going to execute? Database level, right? And we minimize the data transfer. We transfer only final output data into application level. And also HANA supports multi-core parallel processing and right, so it will improve the data calculations, it will improve the data processing time by using code push down, by keeping all those complex calculations in the HANA layer. How can you keep or how can you achieve code push down?
Sir, for selection, we can directly mention in the query, no? In the where clauses.
You mean max? You mean aggregate functions you're talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
If the data is readily available, if there is a table with net worth of each people, if that is already calculated and maintained in a table, as you said, you can get the data, right? But we need to calculate their different business. We need to analyze their different revenue, different revenue from different business, and we need to aggregate the data on the application. The data is not readily available in a table, right?
Means we are taking multiple tables into consideration.
We are taking from multiple tables. We are gathering information from multiple sources, right? And we are calculating that amount.
Okay.
In that case, you cannot do that, right?
Yes.
You need to do a lot of loops. You need to do a lot of calculations, right? In that case, you cannot directly select using aggregate functions. So we do the complex data calculation logics in the database layer and transfer only the result data to application layer, right? So we transfer only result data to application layer. That's what code push down. Instead of executing complex business logics in the application layer, we do that in HANA database. Okay. So what is the advantage of it? By using code push down, we can reduce the data transfer. It will improve the anyway. Better performance comes under reduced data transfer only. It will obviously it will improve the performance and we can reduce the load on application server so that other applications can run faster. Okay, is everyone clear? Now, what are the different code push down techniques we use in ABAP on HANA? First one, CDS views, core data services. Second one, AMDP. AMDPs are database procedures, ABAP managed database procedures. And we can also use one thing called ADBC, ABAP database connectivity. Okay, where by using ADBC, what we can achieve? Direct access to database. Okay, by using ADBC, we can provide direct access to database in a special case. It's not a regular case, but in some special cases, we use direct database access. Okay, it is not recommended because as I said, if there is a change in database, right? Since ADBC is a database specific syntax, that's not going to support the different databases. Okay. AMDP is a procedure, database procedure, which will execute a procedure inside the database. When it is generated, it will execute a procedure inside the HANA database. ABAP managed database procedure. AMDP means ABAP managed database procedure. Here we can use some ABAP uh, coding in AMDP. where we use a class interfaces to implement the AMDP. Okay, where CDS view, it's a SQL view, right? It's a SQL view which we write only data selection. CDS views cannot support any data insertion, data modification. We can only read the data by using CDS views. What about AMDPs? CDS views, we can write only SQL statements. We can do some joins, SQLs, that's it. But if you need more features where you can use ABAP, right? Where you need to loop the data, where you need to do read statements, loop statements with the combination of HANA database features, right? Then we go for AMDP. Here in AMDP, we can also insert the data and update the data. It's a database procedure. Okay, it supports some part of ABAP logic. But in CDS view, we do not write any ABAP code like loops and read statements. It supports only SQL. Okay, it's like select statements and joins. Okay, now where can you implement all this? Can you do that in GUI, our traditional GUI?
No.
Can you develop CDS views or AMDPs in your traditional GUI? No, you cannot. But where can you do that? Either you need to use Eclipse. Looks like Eclipse is not available, or SAP provided Eclipse based software that is called SAP HANA Studio. But in current projects, we are using Eclipse only, Eclipse IED. You might have already aware of this when you are working on some Java or UI applications, where we add SAP extensions to that Eclipse integrated development tool. We add our ABAP content or ABAP developer content to that Eclipse. Okay, I'm launching the Eclipse based HANA Studio. HANA Studio is also built on Eclipse only, on top of Eclipse only. Okay, but now SAP is recommended to use only Eclipse. You can download the Eclipse and you need to add the ABAP developer tools. Then only you can do the ABAP development. Okay, this is Eclipse only. Okay, but they developed this HANA Studio on top of Eclipse only. But you can see same thing in Eclipse. First thing, when you open the Eclipse, what you need to check for? Is it going to support SAP development or not? SAP ABAP development or not? By default, it won't. What you need to do? Go to help, check for install, check for update. No, sorry, install software, install new software. Okay, install new software. Here you need to add link from. Here you need to add link from SAP. I'll show you what link you need to add. HANA development tools for Eclipse. Okay, go to this SAP development tools. Tools.hana.ondemand. Depends on your Eclipse version. Depends on your Eclipse version. Right? Take this link. For example, take this link 2024-09. Your Eclipse version is 2024-09. Let's assume. Then take this link and paste this here. Looks like the other tools are already available. That's why it is showing only this identity management tools. Maybe let's try with a different link. If you see here, ABAP development tools. This is mandatory to this is mandatory for your Eclipse IDE. to develop any ABAP applications in the Eclipse environment. Okay, ABAP Business Objects Tool, core development tools, right? Web9 Pro tools. This may not required. Whatever I check, this may not required, but you can select it and you need to press next and finish. So those tools will be added to your Eclipse Web IDE. Okay. Similarly, you need to work on BW. You need to add relevant BW tools. Okay. For our ABAP developer tools are required. If you want to see what are all the tools already installed in Eclipse, go to about Eclipse or about HANA Studio. Here you can see, I think, installation details. What are the tools already available here? ABAP development tools, core development tools, HANA Studio development tools, HANA database development tools, right? BW development tools already added. Okay, they are not available. You need to add. How to add? Go to which application? This one. Tools.hana.ondemand.com. There you need to choose relevant link. Depends on your Eclipse version. Okay, is everyone clear? How can you know the Eclipse version? If you go to help, there you can find about Eclipse or something. Okay, is everyone clear? Is everyone clear about this? Please confirm. Please tell me yes or no if you're clear or not.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Now, let's assume your Eclipse is ready and added ABAP developer tools. What is the next step? Can you directly create or develop the ABAP applications? No. First, you need to create a project. Okay, new project. It is same in Eclipse. I'm showing you in HANA Studio, but it is same in Eclipse. What project you need to create? For example, ABAP project. It- if the tools are already installed, it will show here. If the ABAP developer tools are already installed, it will automatically show here. Okay. What project you need to create? ABAP project. Next, select your ERP, which is available in your GUI. Okay. For example, I need to create for 2023. You don't need to do anything. Just click on next and provide the client 800 user ID, password. Open ABAP prospective. Yes. Now I'll show you one thing here. You need to change the perspective. Here there is a option, right? Select this perspective. If you want to do a web development, which perspective you need to select? A web perspective. Then only it will open the web perspective. And there you can see the here. This is the project which is added. Okay. Whatever the objects you can see in GUI, the same objects you can see here. You need to go to the relevant package. For example, we are saving most of our data in local objects, right? You can find all those details here. Okay, it will take time to load the package, but you can find all those details here. Okay, dictionary, data dictionary objects, whatever the tables. structures domains you created, you can see all of them here. Similarly, programs that will be available in where we have a lot of objects, lot of dictionary objects. You can see programs and source code library, programs and function modules. You can see in source code library. Okay. If you want to create a new object, just right click on the relevant package, or if you have your own package, go to system library and select your package and right click on it and create the object. That might be a data element, domain, table, program. You need to select the relevant object type and continue with the development. Okay, so you can write programs in Eclipse environment as well. Okay, there is a little advantage of writing program because it will show inline errors. When you are typing the code, it will immediately show the error if there is any error, but in our GUI we need to write the code, we need to save it, and then we need to check it, right? Then only it will show the errors. But here it will show inline, immediately it will show the error if there is any issue in the syntax. Okay, if you go to the system library, you can find all packages including standard and custom packages. I think we used this package, right? Z001 for our developments. Go to source code library, go to programs. So these are all the programs we created, right? For example, sales order print, open any program. Whatever the things you can do in GUI, you can do the same thing here. Select star. Since there is error, it is immediately showing a error, right? Form is not, form is invalid here. Otherwise, if I am writing in GUI, it will show only when I click on syntax check, right? It will show inline error here in Eclipse. Okay, you can run here, activate the program, run the program as a web application. You can provide the input and execute. It will display the output. Okay, you can also create the program. If you want to create a new program, navigate to the relevant program type or directly right click here on the package, new, other ABAP repository object. You need to select a relevant object. Okay, you need to scroll down and select the relevant object. Go to source code library. If you want to create a program, you need to go to source code library and create ABAP program or function module, whatever required. Okay, then provide the program description. The rest of the things are same. Okay, so in the next session we'll create few simple programs in Eclipse, and then we work on CDS views. Okay, we'll try to complete in the next 2 days, max 3 days. Okay, and we'll see one class on creating OData services. Okay, we can also use CDS views to generate the OData services. We'll see that concept as well. Max in 4 classes we'll complete this, and we'll work on interview preparation and okay.